Okay, good morning, everybody. Glad to see you all here today. Um, I want to start with, we have a couple of new people. You're going to hear from our presenters in a little bit, so I'm not going to ask them to introduce themselves right now. But we do have a few other new people, I believe. And so I wanted to, Tina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Tina. I'm a public ally. I'm working with the Common Sense Media for the next 10 months. Nice to meet you all.
Oh, cool. Glad to have you. Glad you could join us today. Let's see,
Me
do we
too.
have any?
Thank you.
You bet. Anybody else that's new today?
Yeah, hi, Steve. I think Bob did a nice job, but my name is James Roxborough. I go by Jim, and I'm a global strategic advisor. I retired last year. I was the CEO for Banner Telehealth for the Banner system. And thank you, Ed, for inviting me, and thank you for Steve for allowing me in.
Sure. Glad to have you, and we'll look forward to hearing from you in just a couple of minutes. And so anybody else that's new today? If not, let's move on to the agenda this morning. And excuse me. So we have a great contingent from the broadband office today. And so Karen, you want to just introduce your crew, and then we'll jump into, I believe Pearl is going to do the update this morning.
Yeah, sure. And I think Sandeep introduced Perla last week, but Perla is the broadband program manager for the Arizona Commerce Authority, and she's responsible for assisting the broadband office and getting all of these planning documents and then executing those documents to distribute nearly $1 billion in Arizona for broadband infrastructure. And so with that, I think, is Crystal on? I'm looking
Yes,
through.
Crystal is also on.
Yes. And then Crystal, I believe she was on last week as well. Crystal is the broadband data and GIS analyst, and hopefully, Crystal, I got that title right. It's a mouthful, but she is our data person and is responsible for compiling all of this data and mapping, to ensure that we distribute that nearly $1 billion appropriately across the state.
Great. Well, we're glad to have you, and you guys are doing some great work. I know it's a lot of work and not enough people to do it all. So we really appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing. So moving on, let's start. Perla, if you would like to take a few minutes, give us an update on what's happening.
Yeah, thank you so much, Steve. We're really excited because the initial proposal volume 1 has been posted on our website for public comment. The volume 1 serves as the first document of 2 submissions within the initial proposal. The first volume responds to 4 of the 19 requirements within the initial proposal as per the NOFO. The requirements touched upon the initial proposal, volume 1, would be existing broadband funding, where we identify the efforts funded by the federal government to deploy broadband and close the digital divide in Arizona. We also look into unserved and underserved locations. You can find location IDs within the documents attached on the website. We identify these locations within the state of Arizona using the most recently published national broadband map. We also have a list of community anchor institutions where we describe and identify how Arizona has applied the definition and the term of community anchor institution, and identify the eligible community anchor institutions in the state, and as well eligible CAIs in applicable tribal lands. I know, Steve, that you had asked me yesterday on how we can continue to send more CAIs. And if you want to just email them over to me, I think that's going to be the most effective way so I can get them over to Crystal. Me or Crystal or Karen, honestly, you guys can email them over and we will take those and add them. Per the NOFO, we are to first identify and serve the unserved and underserved locations. And with any eligible funds left over, we can address the CAIs. The next requirement we also address is the challenge process. It's a detailed plan on how the Arizona Commerce Authority will conduct a challenge process for eligible locations and community anchor institutions as per the NOFO. The Arizona Commerce Authority as well includes DSL modification and provides guidance provided by NTIA. The Arizona Commerce Authority will treat the locations where the national broadband map shows to have available qualifying broadband service. And once the challenge process is posted, we will then begin to see locations that either were qualifying as not served or underserved, and we will address those as well. I know some locations will show, oh, I have Wi-Fi here, but when you do a speed test, it will show that it's different. It's a different story. So you can challenge that once we have that available, but you're able to read our plan as to how we're going to do that in the initial proposal volume 1. When the portal goes live, again, like I said, everyone will have that chance to register those entities, and in March we will begin a deduplication process.
Right.
We are just,
We've dealt with on a little bit.
I don't know if that was a question.
I think that was somebody. Go ahead.
Okay. We're currently just in the beginning process of our analysis, and we have not yet chosen a vendor, but the initial proposal volume 1 is available. I shared it with Steve. I know I saw an email from Steve's end shared to everybody. So everyone has access to that document and is able to provide feedback on our website. Thank you guys so much.
Perla,
Awesome. Awesome,
what
Pearl.
was the
Questions?
well, I was just going to ask Perla, you said, so I couldn't catch what you're saying was coming in March and the vendor you're choosing. What was that about?
In March, we begin the deduplication process. So if any repeated addresses, we will begin that process in March. But we have not yet chosen a vendor for the challenge process. That's it. We're just in the analysis stages right now.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Any other questions for Perla? Perla, glad to have you. Thanks for joining us again today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
You
Steve.
bet.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome joining these group calls.
You bet. And so Nicole, I saw you're here this morning. Haven't seen you in a while. Got any updates for us?
Hey, good morning.
And Nicole,
great
would you
time.
introduce yourself again, please?
Sure. Good morning. I'm Nicole Umayam. I'm the Federal Program Officer with NTIA for the state of Arizona. So that means that I am the grant administrator for the BEAD and the digital equity programs that are coming to Arizona. So that represents nearly $1 billion in funding for broadband and broadband use and adoption efforts. So I get to work closely with the state broadband office here, as well as other stakeholders in moving Arizona's broadband initiatives along, and of course, making sure everything is in compliance with federal standards and being the information link between the federal government and the state and all of our stakeholders. So it's good timing because I'm going to be hosting a couple of information sessions on the initial proposal, which is the very document that Perla mentioned, half of which is out for public comment right now. I apologize because I have, it was originally scheduled as a webinar, but I'm changing it to an information session so that it's Zoom meeting format like this. But on October 24th, I'm holding an info session on sort of the initial proposal 101. There are 19 different requirements separated into 2 volumes. Volume 1 is posted for public comment right now. Volume 2 is has a lot of additional information that this gets into the weeds of how Arizona plans to open up project areas for bid, which is to identify all of those locations that will need broadband service. So this session is really intended for all stakeholders to have a little bit of an understanding of what those federal program requirements are, to make sure that you're equipped to participate in the state's planning processes and to provide comments on volume 1 and then the forthcoming volume 2 once that's posted. There are special considerations for tribal governments in the initial proposal. The BEAD funding is essentially a formula grant that's awarded directly to states and territories, and tribes are eligible applicants to apply for funding through the tribe. But in this program, unlike NTIA's other broadband programs, it doesn't go directly to the tribes. But there's other mechanisms within this 1-year planning period of the initial proposal through the final proposal that has special consideration for tribes. So I have an information session also on October 24th for tribal broadband stakeholders. I'm going to have to share the registration link at a later time with Steve so he can help distribute it. But I'm also happy to answer questions offline about the initial proposal and the state's process here. But looking forward to making sure everybody has the info that they need. We'll also, as the state broadband office is ready to start doing some public engagements around this, we'll be supporting them as well. For everyone's reminder, so we're in this 1-year planning period. Some states have submitted those plans for public comment. They're all listed by NTIA at this link here. So if you're curious about what other states have been putting in their initial proposals, in their 5-year broadband action plans, or in their digital equity plans, they are posted here. Of course, I have to say the caveat, everything posted here with the exception of Louisiana's broadband plan has not officially been accepted or approved by NTIA. So these are just publicly posted for comment at this period.
Okay, great, then Nicole, and certainly when you're ready to publicize that those sessions, obviously you'll send it to me and I'll get it out to everybody.
Yeah, Steve, if I could just add, I just wanted to provide some timing for this for the broadband office. As we said, the volume 1 is posted now. It was posted on October 2nd, and it will run, the public comment period will run through November 1st. And the goal is to get volume 2 posted either on the 1st or the 2nd, and then that will run 30 days for the volume 2 public comment period. And then the official submission to NTIA, the deadline is December 27th. The goal is to have that done before the holiday, but the official deadline is December 27th.
Okay. And just a reminder that the email that I sent out has the link and the information about how to provide your input. So I encourage you to check it out. Okay. So before we move on, Sharon Matiba, if I can put you on the spot here, would you like to introduce yourself? If you're there. Sharon, are you there? Well, we'll come back to her. Sharon at least was, if I'm not mistaken, with EDA. And we're really pleased she dropped in last week and is here today. So hopefully she'll come back online and we can get a little update from her about what's going on with EDA. So with that, just a reminder, and Karen, if I can also put you on the spot, we've announced before that the governor has created an interagency council on broadband. And I have the information about it. I've sent it out. But Karen, could you just take a minute to talk about that?
Yes, so the Interagency and Broadband Advisory Council was established by the governor's office. I see you have Maggie Ferry's contact information there. They held their first meeting last month. I believe the council is going to meet quarterly. However, they are working on establishing the working groups that will encompass more than just the advisory board members. And so they're reaching out to people to see if there's an interest in participating in those working groups. If Perla is still on, she may have a little bit more information because I know she's working with Maggie on collecting that information. And off the top of my head, let me see if I can get all of them right. The working groups are going to be permitting and infrastructure, mapping, digital
Okay,
equity.
It's on the screen there if you
Oh,
want.
is it? Oh, shoot, see, you should have tested me. Yeah, so I think at this point they're in the process of establishing those working groups and setting up the meetings, but the actual advisory council is going to meet quarterly. So Perla, do you have anything else to add on that?
No, that I was looking through my notes to see if there's more, but I think you covered it all. Those working groups, to participate in the working groups will close on October 6th, so tomorrow.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay. And I believe that those are virtual, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, those will be taking place virtually.
Okay. So I'm sorry, what's tomorrow?
The date to know we're closing to sign up for a working group on October 6th.
Got it. And again, reminder that information is in the email that I sent out with the notice of the meeting, and it has the link on how you can sign up for a working group if you so choose. And somebody wanted to ask something or comment?
No, you actually answered it. I was going to say the link does not, the hyperlink doesn't work in this on the screen for obvious reasons. My apologies.
Okay. No problem. Okay. So anything else before we move on? Anything for Karen? Okay. If not, let's get into our presentation this morning. And I'm going to introduce Ed Thiele. Ed is a longtime friend and participant in the Great Arizona E-Learning Association. We met probably 20 or 30 years ago. And he is going to introduce Jim and Dr. Bob Roth to us today, and to hear a little bit about the work that they're doing. As you all know, we've been very interested in telehealth, and so both of them have a pretty extensive experience in the telehealth space. So we invited them to join us today. So Ed, you want to introduce Jim and Bob, please?
Sure will. Thanks, Steve. Good morning, everybody. It's an honor to be able to introduce two of my colleagues today, Dr. Bob Roth and Jim Roxburgh. And together, along with Dr. Patricia Reyes, who is Chief of Neurology at the Phoenix VA Hospital, we're forming a consulting company. We're going to collaborate with companies or groups who want to expand access to medical and psychosocial care by leveraging telehealth services to medically underserved patients. Bob is a marketing man, a real strategist. He's collaborated with many blue ribbon companies and nonprofits. His resume includes reinvigorating the Grand Canyon Railway as president and CEO. He's also worked with the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation, Sedona Chamber of Commerce, the Navajo Nation, and the Utah Navajo Industries Group. Now, Jim has more than 40 years of healthcare experience in both operational and clinical roles, and he's worked exclusively in telehealth leadership for more than a decade. Now, Jim retired from Banner Health as CEO for telehealth in 2022, and prior to this, he was co-founder and chief operations officer at VMed, which is a telemed technology and services company. And currently, he's working in an advisory role to support the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia Ministry of Health with the development and implementation of their telecritical care program. So I'm going to turn things over to Bob to fill in the blanks. Bob Roth.
Oh, mute. I think you're on mute, Bob.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Jim. I'm Bob Roth. And as you are aware, broadband internet is essential for most telehealth services because providing those services relies on video conferencing, remote monitoring, and other electronic communication. In Arizona, about 2.8 million people, 2.8 million people have limited and in many cases no access to medical care. 2.8 million people just in Arizona. So for those 2.8 million people, just the availability of telehealth care would make a tremendous difference. Simply defined, telehealth care is the use of digital technology to provide remote healthcare services. And telehealth can be used to provide a wide range of services, including urgent care for common illnesses and injuries, monitoring and management of chronic diseases, mental health services, including counseling and therapy, and connections for patients with specialists who are not in their local area. But there's one very big challenge, one critical challenge to providing telehealth care. It requires internet connectivity and generally high-speed internet connectivity. Jim Roxburgh will share a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of our work, and then we would very much appreciate any and all questions and suggestions from you, ladies and gentlemen. So Jim, if I may, I'll hand it to you.
Sure. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. And again, Steve, thank you for allowing us and myself to participate. And it's a pleasure to meet you all virtually. And I know probably all and most of you are very aware of the benefits of telehealth. I'll just talk a little bit about what my burden is for the past 10 plus years. And Ed, you made me feel very old when you said over 40 years of healthcare experience, but yeah, it's about 48. Long story short, my first job was as an orderly, a nursing aide, when I was a teenager in a skilled nursing facility. About 3 decades later, I actually set that facility up for telehealth. It was very interesting, and I remember I knew. When I walked in there 30 years later, I remembered all the places I used to sleep because I worked nights. But the challenge of that we face in this country, and then as Bob said, I've been introduced and I've been working with the Saudi Ministry of Health and the National Guard on helping them with their programs in Saudi Arabia, is connecting the provider to the patient wherever the patient is. And the other burden that I've literally from day one of being involved in telehealth that I felt is being able to go across the care continuum and treating a patient in their home, in ambulance, in the ED, in the clinic, hospital, wherever the need is. And that's not easy, and to do it in a simple way. Because I believe there are enough providers to provide the care. The challenge is to get them to the patient or to the bedside. And the work that you all are doing is music to my ears, because without connectivity in telehealth, you have nothing. So And I'll just mention, and I'll pause there, but I'll mention there are two critical things that I found in my experience with telehealth, and it happened literally the first week. I started my career with the Mercy Telehealth Network, which became the Dignity Health Telemedicine Network. We started with 4 sites in 2010, 2011. And when I left there in 2016, we had about 44 sites. And Dignity now has been absorbed by Common Spirit. And the first week on the job, I went to the neuro division meeting because we'd started with telestroke. And one of the neurologists said, this doesn't work because the nurses at the partner site or the spoke site, they don't know what they're doing. And I thought, because we never told them. So that led me to develop this idea that makes a lot of sense. I'm sure you'll agree that it's not only the technology, because you can have the best technology, it's the clinical workflows and how they're developed from the partner side or the spoke side and the hub side. And you need to make it as easy as if the doctor's walking into the room or going into the home virtually. So that's been my burden of developing programs around following that model and getting to the provider to the bedside. So I'll pause there and see if there's any questions for myself, Bob, or Ed.
Any questions? So one of the things that they're very interested in is finding partners to work with on the reservations. And so if any of you are so inclined, you might want to connect with them.
Yeah.
I guess I would have a question to the group, anyone in the group. What do you see as the timeline for rolling out broadband availability in the state, across the state? Is it a ubiquitous possibility that it'll just be rolled out across the state, or will it be rolled out to different areas, different regions? And what would you see as the timeline?
You want me to take that, Steve?
Yeah, Karen, I was just going to say, I think Karen would be good to answer that question.
So Bob, let me first say, the work you guys are doing is so important, and I fully support what you guys are doing and understand that you have to have the connectivity to be able to be successful. So I think that's the foundation of everything that NTIA is doing with releasing all of these funds to the states, and it's what our charge is to make sure that everyone has access to affordable internet. So with that, the Arizona's getting $993 million. NTIA requires the state to fund or to provide access to internet to unserved, which are locations that receive less than 25/3 internet, and then underserved, which are locations that receive under 100/20. So the requirement is that the state funds those first as a priority. And based on the initial data, Arizona has about 318,000 locations that fall into that category. So the state needs to use that $993 million to fund those locations. After that, if there's money left over, then the state goes to what Perla talked about earlier, the community anchor institutions. So if there are community anchor institutions out there that aren't that don't have access to a gig service, then the state can use some money, for those locations. Hospitals, public safety entities. There's a whole list of those that are part of that volume 1 that Perla talked about this morning. So to answer your question, the 318,000 will be addressed with the 993 million. Nicole said that we're in a 1-year planning period. So the plan is to release the funding probably the very end of 2024, beginning of 2025, where they'll have this grant sub-recipient grant selection process to address those 318,000 locations. And then there will be obviously a build out period, from there. It will probably take a couple of years, for them to build out those locations. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Karen. I know that was kind of a difficult pulling together of random pieces, but I really appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, and it is statewide. When we release the challenge process information, you'll be able to see Crystal, our data analyst, is working on those maps, so you can kind of see those areas that are, what we call those hot spots that are going to be addressed with these dollars coming to the state.
Very, very helpful. And Steve, if I may, I guess you're probably the person to ask this of. Is the state Medicaid department access involved at all with your group or with this initiative? The reason I ask is that the majority of medically underserved people, coincidentally, are also older people, not all, but the majority, and a very large percentage of them are eligible for access, but they don't have care to utilize as a result of access. And so I would hope that State Department becomes very much involved in this conversation.
So Andy Sinclair, I believe you're online. You want to answer that?
Steve, if I could just clarify real quick. So what we've been talking about this morning is the BEAD infrastructure funding, the 993 million, and that is to build out the actual infrastructure. There is a companion program that through NTIA called the Digital Equity Program and the Capacity Program. That's going to provide funding to the state for digital equity and inclusion, which a big part of that is telehealth. So once the infrastructure is in, how do we get people, to be able to participate now that the infrastructure is there. And so you make a great point with the access recipients. So the digital equity plan, we are required to address what we call covered populations. And one of the covered populations is aging individuals, which falls into, I think, the category you were talking about. Veterans, people in rural communities, people with English language, as English as a second language, basically, incarcerated adults. Nicole, did I miss one?
Rural.
I said rural. Yes, yeah. I did say rural. Yeah. So all of those what we call covered populations will be the priority of addressing with these additional dollars that are going to be coming down the pipe for digital equity capacity. Those funds have not been allocated at this point, and we don't know how much Arizona is going to get, but there, like I said, is this companion program that we're working on, this digital equity plan that will also have a public comment period. We're anticipating that plan to be released for public comment the 1st of January.
Very helpful, Karen. Thank you.
Steve, you were asking if I know the contact. I will do some checking around to see who at DES would be working with Medicare and Medicaid, and I will get that information to Dr. Roth.
So Andy, you want to introduce yourself real quickly?
Yes, I'm Andy Sinclair. I'm with the Arizona Department of Economic Security, and part of my role is to work with organizations not traditionally involved with reducing poverty, but that can help reduce poverty throughout Arizona.
Thank you, Andy.
Sure thing.
So Andy has been a regular participant with us for a long time. So thank you, Andy. Really appreciate it. So moving on. So Elena, you asked about, did I announce Digital Equity Week, and I did not. So do you want to do that?
Yeah, sure. No, it's Digital Inclusion Week. So happy
Yes,
Digital
excuse
Inclusion
me.
Week, everybody. Just reminding people that there may be activities going on in your communities, and if there are social media posts from your organization that you can that you can do this week. I know this week ends tomorrow, but today or tomorrow, just uplifting the great work that everybody is doing in their communities. We just want to get the word out about what we're doing here in Arizona. NDIA, and I know Steve and I have shared information, toolkits, things like that, including a social media toolkit. I also wanted to let you know that both Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego, as well as our governor, have signed proclamations supporting and announcing that it's Digital Inclusion Week. So I just wanted to let you know I have copies of those if you're interested and want to use those in your social media posts or anything like that. So yeah, I just wanted to say happy Digital Inclusion Week.
So a good segue is, Cindy, do you want to give us a quick update?
Sure. I'm Cindy Hogan. I chair the Arizona Digital Inclusion Network, ADIN, and we're sponsoring a couple of things today. I'll put the registration links in the chat. We have a fellow who is going to speak to us about the work he's done as a 4-H tech change maker. He's a nationally recognized fellow. He's done digital literacy work with over 3,000 people in Santa Cruz County, Arizona. We're going to listen to his story and see how maybe we can start using the 4-H program in concert with the cooperative extensions to start teaching digital literacy. I think, yeah, so I'm really interested to hear his story, and his boss and his assistants are going to be with him to share. And he did make the national stage. So that's at 11 o'clock, from 11 to 12. At 12 o'clock, the meeting rolls over into an open house for the Arizona Digital Inclusion Network, and talks about what we're doing as a group. We're starting that conversation today with a woman named Mignon Hollis, who is leading the Arizona Broadband for All Coalition here in the state of Arizona. I've been on their website. It's a little unclear to me what the goal of that organization is. So we invited Mignon to speak to us and let us know how we can get involved as citizens in this state in bringing Arizona Broadband for All to fruition. So she's going to be sharing, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what Arizona Digital Inclusion Network is and how people can join. And that's from 12 to 1, and I'll put the registration link in the chat. Thank you very much.
And just a reminder that information also is in the email meeting announcement that I sent out with all the links and all that kind of stuff. So you'll find that. Just an FYI, and Cindy, I'm glad you're having Mignon, and we also will be having her in the next couple of weeks probably. I have been in touch with her and looking for ways for us to be able to partner and collaborate with her.
Exactly.
So, so moving on. So our library folks aren't here except for Holly, you're here. Aaron and Mala are, I assume, busy with other things at the moment.
That's right, Steve. Aaron is actually on annual leave this week, and I am not certain where Mala is this morning. So, I don't think that we
you're
have
not Mala's
anything.
keeper, huh?
No, but Aaron is in Hawaii enjoying herself.
Well, you had to go and tell us that, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
So I don't think we have anything new to report this week.
Okay. Well, certainly, and I'm sure Mala will listen to some of our recordings also about obviously the telehealth projects that you guys are working on. And unfortunately, Janet also is not available today. She sent me a note and some information she wanted me to share with the group. So
Okay, and
go ahead.
Steve, just as an FYI, Mala and Aaron are kind of transitioning, and so Aaron is going to be taking over the telehealth work.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Holly. Appreciate it.
Hey,
And
Steve.
then I'm sorry. Yeah, Elena.
Steve, it's me, Elena.
Yep. Go
I
ahead.
forgot to introduce our new person, and I figured you might I figured you
Yeah.
might see her on the wall. Can you
She
hear
did
me?
introduce herself earlier.
Excellent. Okay, see, I was late because I was giving blood, so I had a good reason. Okay, great.
Well, it's a
Thank you
good thing you got a good excuse. Okay, so Karina with the State Department of Education is recovering from surgery, so she's not back with us yet. Rory, do you have any updates on what's happening with the final mile? Rory, are you there? Hello? Okay, well, be that way. So Sharon, are you back online? Sharon Mativa?
Yes, I'm here. Hey,
There
can
you
I
are.
1 second?
Sure.
I haven't
Don't mean to put you
participated
on
in
the
a
spot,
while.
Sharon, but it's been a long time since we've been in touch with you. And I think you joined last week and I was going to introduce you and then you had already been gone.
Yeah, I had another meeting right after this one. It was just, hold on 1 second. Let me get off mute. Video. Morning.
There you go.
I am Sharon Mativa. I actually work for the Economic Development Administration. So when this working group was structured, we were part of it initially. And so periodically I just listen in because we provide funding for different infrastructure projects. It just depends. Arizona does have a field agent, Jeff Hayes, and he's excellent at this sort of thing. So I don't often sit in. I periodically do just to catch up on the broadband activity. We funded a broadband project in southeastern Arizona. It just wrapped up. And it was a very good feasibility study. So periodically I check in to see how you guys are doing, and it sounds as this working group is doing very, very well. That's the update for me. We're in a CR at the moment, so I it's time to, I don't know, it's availability. So thank you.
So Sharon, can you tell people a little bit about EDA and the kinds of programs you do fund? And,
certainly.
And particularly since we're obviously interested in digital inclusion initiatives, are there any things that EDA funds from that space, even though the infrastructure is not a big piece of what you do?
Well, this is how to say, with the digital inclusion and with the administration's priorities of it, we have to include all, let's say have to, we're required to, and it's only right that we do so. But EDA funds the programs that we do fund, which is the planning partnership, which is your economic development districts, your university center programs, your under the economic adjustment program, there is the latest programs that are out there, Recompete, Tech Hubs, et cetera, if you guys are aware of that. And the broadband infrastructure component is limited, due in part that NTIA does fund the majority of it. But if there's any elements that EDA can support, we will try to do so. As the digital inclusion updates, I am going to have to defer that to Jeff, who's probably on the ground a little bit more, and I don't know if he's on this call, but EDA will be willing to support what we can under the auspices of the network.
I don't believe we have Jeff on our list. I'd have to go
Okay.
back and look, but I don't, is he?
I will ask him to participate because he is the field agent he resides in Northern Arizona.
Okay,
And so
I'll have
he's
to
very
check
much
and see,
aware
but
of.
if you could provide me his email also, then we can connect with him.
Okay, I'll send it to you specifically.
Sounds good.
Because I do have asked him to participate in quite a few of these, depending what the events are. If I'm not able to attend, he's local and he can definitely travel and visit you all.
Sounds great. Thank you. Thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome.
Okay. Excuse me. Anybody have any other announcements that they'd like to share today? There are a ton of events coming up. And if you're seeing my screen, the Arizona Telemedicine Program, Telehealth Policy Summit, October 24th. All of this information is in the email that I sent. So you don't have to be scrambling to write it down. I'm not going to put it all in the chat, but it will be included in when I send out the updates. Hi, Carla.
Hi, good morning. My apologies. I am getting over a cold and I'm going to do you all a favor and not turn on my camera because I don't want to scare you all. But I do want to take the opportunity to have you all join a few of us that are on the call today on October 18th for the signature event for the tech sector in Southern Arizona, which is the Tech and Business Expo. We will have a phenomenal conversation about artificial intelligence, the 16 flavors of artificial intelligence. And I hope you all know that you guys are in the presence of a celebrity because one of our amazing panelists is on the call today. Mr. Ash Black will be joining us on the panel and discussing different aspects of artificial intelligence. We also have phenomenal innovative presenters, including one of the lead researchers with OSIRIS-REx. He will be sharing some of the findings that they have. So I encourage you all, I will put it on the chat. I encourage you all to join us. Steve, your registration has been submitted and you should receive that in your email. But for the rest of you, again, I encourage you to join us for this fantastic event. It's 11 years now that we've been putting this event, and every year it gets better and better. So I encourage you to join us and don't miss out.
Thank you, Carla. And I think I've attended just about every year, and it is a great event, great presentations. They acknowledge a lot of people who are doing, excuse me, great work. And then they have the expo. You want to say anything a little more about the expo, Carl?
Yeah, absolutely. We have about 65 companies in the expo joining us, celebrating and showcasing their innovation. We have a lot of community partners joining us as well. We have an Optics Valley Pavilion where many of the Optics Valley committee members, member companies will be showcasing their innovations. We will also have the University of Arizona Pavilion, which is a section where the University of Arizona departments will have a corridor where they'll be also showcasing what's going on campus in each one of their departments. We expect to have about 400 to 500 people in attendance. And then we also have a robot that goes around serving drinks and snacks to our guests. So please come join us. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, come on down, and then we can all get to meet each other in face to face and in person.
Absolutely.
So, great event.
And there's not, I mean, other than this topic that we talk about, artificial intelligence is something that you will hear about in just about every conversation you have from now until the next 10 years. So I think it'll be really good. I've heard Ash speak before, and I'm really looking forward to hearing him on the panel and with the other panelists. Honeywell will be joining the conversation as well. So we'll be talking about ethics, public policy, application, and so many great things about the unknown of artificial intelligence to create a level of knowledge and comfort so that you're able to implemented into your everyday life, whether it's personal or professional. So it'd be a really good event. Looking forward for that presentation.
So
Thank
Carla,
you.
are you the two chairs of your Artificial Intelligence Committee going to be speaking?
Mary Darling will be presenting as well. Alex will be joining us in the audience to support the Artificial Intelligence Committee.
So I happened to, Carla had an event down here recently, and I had a chance to speak with both of those co-chairs who have both of them I've known for many years. And we will be exploring some ways for us to partner with them. I had a good conversation about the issue of AI. And of course, as I mentioned to them, while they are speaking at high levels and to a lot of big corporations, that reminded them that there's also people, many of the people who we deal with, who have no clue what AI is and what the implications are. So we're going to be exploring some ways to partner with them.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that I love about Ash's presentation is that he does a really good job in presenting the information in a way that it doesn't matter your knowledge base. You could be a subject matter expert or very entry level, and you become very comfortable and understand the concepts and understand the application. And start minimizing that uncertainty that a lot of people feel about artificial intelligence. So look forward to seeing you all there, and help us support Ash. Have a fantastic panel presentation.
Thanks. And you know, Ash just presented to us a couple weeks ago.
I heard a little bit of it in the recording, so I'm looking forward to seeing him live now.
It was awesome.
Oh, sorry,
Go ahead.
Carla. I just want to say thank you so much for that feedback. It's really meaningful. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm also a fan of yours because I'm a diehard Eller fan. So
All right.
I'm an Eller graduate. So you bring both of my worlds together. So I appreciate that, Ash.
Cool. Thanks, Carla.
And Ash, excuse me, and Ash and I have chatted a little bit, and we'll be exploring some ways to collaborate more with the work he's doing, including the possibility of working with some of the students that are part of his program. So, anything else that anybody has for today? Going once, going twice. I just want to say one more thing. We are working on getting the AZBSN cyber safety and security team together. Excuse me. We're working on a draft to explain what the team is, what we're going to be focusing on, and a tentative plan. And then we'll be engaging other people in the process once we get rolling along. And John, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you, Steve. Remind everyone that, of course, this is the 15th year of October as Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And we talked about the elderly population before, and they are the most targeted group because one, they have money, and two, they sometimes don't make the best decisions. And so I put a link to the CISA information in there as things for kids from K to 80, as I say it, where it's just common sense for some of us, but for a lot of people, just like AI, cyber, these words really don't have a lot of meaning. So there's resources out there for people, so remind them of it.
So John, do you want to introduce yourself while you're at it, please?
Sure. John Haas with Embry-Riddle, started the cyber intelligence and security now 10 years ago, believe it or not, and also Center for the Future, where we're working with young companies, including telehealth over in Oak Creek Village, where they do have broadband, but they have an elderly population that doesn't know how to use it yet. So we are trying to get training out to them, using our students to train the trainer.
Great, thanks, John. And John is one of the leaders in trying to get this cybersecurity team off the ground. So anybody else have anything that they want to share this morning?
Steve, Mark Goldstein. I'll
Yeah,
just
Mark.
mention we've talked about before that the SciTech Institute is having their all-day science and STEM event at the Arizona Science Center on the 24th. I've just now seen an announcement from the Tech Council of a pre-reception Monday, the 23rd from 5 to 7 is a kickoff reception now scheduled as kind of a networking event associated with that. So it's a suggested $20 donation to cover the cost, but no specific registration fee. Carla may have more to say about that, but I just saw that pop up today.
Okay. Any other announcements today? If not, I think we might be done for today. Those of you who have been on this call before know that we do our kibitzing with colleagues after the meeting for a few minutes. It's informal. We stop the recording and just give people an opportunity to chat, get a little more acquainted, etc. It could be 3 people, it could be 10 people, it could last for 5 minutes, it could last for 45 minutes. So it just kind of depends on who's available and how much time they have. And so with that, I think we're done for today. We'll see you all hopefully next week. And again, really encourage you to attend the Tech Council Expo here in Tucson. Okay, that it? Thanks, everybody.